now we can actually build straight onto our core assembly. And this is kind of like, again, this is like the more unique parts of this build, is that you can take this entire thing out and now you have complete access to all of your major components. There's also offset feature. You can take the spine of your core assembly and shift it over to allow an additional slot clearance for your GPU. Obviously takes up some of your CPU cooling height, but that depends on what you want to do and what components you purchase and what you want to accomplish. So this is the frame. We're just going to set this aside for now. So we're actually going to fit, let's just show you what we're going to fit in there. This is just some stuff we had laying around, but we've got this really freaking big Aurorus GeForce RTX 3080, and then we've got an Asus Strix motherboard with a i9 and a 280 millimeter radiator, and just a generic white Cooler Master SFX size PSU. So we're actually going to start with the motherboard here. We pre-mounted the cooling. I'm going to be careful with this AIO we've got. I'm going to insert this guy right here. Screw number 1. Screw number 2. I'm going to put all in. Alright, screw number 4. Motherboard is in. Now we're going to do our PSU. So for this instance, we've just got this PSU here. The screws already in, so we'll take those out as well. So take note, inside this PSU chamber, there's a little tab up here to help the PSU kind of lock into place, because we're actually using 3 screw holes instead of the 4 normal ones to lock this in place. Alright. Now we've got our main cable, the largest cable, pretty much where we want it. Pretty clean, routes around the back, so you're not having to mess with too much cables. And then comes our 8-pin cable, and then we'll just plug it in down here. And then with this extra, we can actually just kind of play around with how we want to tuck that away and make everything a little bit cleaner looking. In this instance, I could actually take my cable and then bundle it up here and use a zip tie or something to keep it in. That's that cable. And then these are our GPU cables. So now we've got our riser cable connection here that we need to make. So we're gonna take our cover off, make our connection into the PCI Express port. Wait till that locks fully into place. That tab should lock. Now we're ready for the GPU to be installed. So, like I said, this is a very large GPU, and you know what? I realized we should have done something before we added the motherboard and the PSU. This is a 4-slot card, and there's only 3 slots of space here. But fortunately for us, there's a way we can fix that. You take out the 2 bottom screws on the bottom portion of your core assembly. You can shift the entire lower bracket over and then accommodate 4-slot GPUs by taking up some of the clearance of the CPU slot. And notice actually we're doing this with all of the components we already installed on. So this is already pretty easy to do. Instead of having a bunch of thumb nuts to screw down your GPU, we actually made this plate so that you can push it down and then lock the whole thing with a single screw. So now we turn it upside, and then you'll see that there's much more clearance for the GPU. So now we actually have enough clearance for our big 4-slot card. Now we're going to install the GPU. Found it. Lock it into place. Make sure that tab's locked for the riser cable. GPU cover. Line it up with the slots. And we'll install the screw that locks it all together. When you're installing this GPU cap, make sure you push down on the cap and then firmly tighten this screw as well. That way you know that the GPU is fully locked into your assembly here. So now we've got our GPU, our CPU, and our PSU installed all into the core assembly before we're going to put it into the computer case. Don't forget that if you adjust the bottom, you'll also need to adjust the top bracket as well, because it changes the spacing for the top and the bottom when you make this adjustment. So this is also just another 2 screws. I'll show you here. Make that small adjustment. So now we got this fully assembled. We're now going to insert it into the frame. So now we're going to insert this bad boy in here steadily. We want to line up these T-slot bars into the rails individually, just a little bit, so you can get them started. And then you just let the weight of the system kind of pull it right in there, just like so. So I'm going to tighten down these nuts firmly. You want that T-slot to lock down into that rail. These cables are pretty tight, so I'm going to pull them out and then tighten the nuts on this side as well. Then I'm going to rotate the assembly back up. Now we have the choice to put our AIO on this side and put it on this side. For this example, we're actually going to put it on this side just because we created more space. We're going to rotate the system just to make it a little bit easier to install. Yeah, I gone goofed. I captured the fan cable and then I dropped the screwdriver. So something that's actually nice about this design too is that you can see that on the sides that we've designed these tabs so you can tuck away your cables along the side for your fans and where your radiators are, and then route them linearly to wherever they want to go. And there's little slots that you can put Velcro or zip tie. Once I got everything inside the PC, I like to put in the I/O. We want the front to be, let's say we want the front to be this side. There's a little bit too much constriction on the tubes, and since we don't really need the additional space, We're just going to adjust the assembly again to relieve some of that pressure and then tighten it back up, which is not something you typically see in other cases. Makes the assembly process a little bit easier if you're not always sure about clearances. So in each path that you can take, there's usually like a spot you can mount like a zip tie or a Velcro piece, so you can get your cables really clean. And in this case, we can use one of these wire twisties. Once you got the AIOs in, or sorry, not the AIOs, the IOs in, then you can place your panels where you want them. In this case, we're going to put the perforated panel on the GPU side. And then we're going to put the solid panel on the CPU side. Now we put the grill pieces on. And then you're done. Alright, so now we've got this really quick build put together for you. We want to show you the accessories that we mentioned earlier, and that is the trad bracket. This is just a factory sample and another sample, 3D printed sample of the optional aluminum feet that you would purchase. These would be the same anodized color as the computer case that you select in your checkout. So let's get to it. I'll get these on and so you can view what that looks like. Place your foot like so, and screw it in one at a time. You want to remember that when you're doing this feet mod, you will need to remove the rear I/O plate, and then you'll place it inside the chamber here, like so. And in the production model, there's going to be 2 holes here to secure that with screws. So let's go ahead and put this panel back on. And then you can flip it around so you can see it. So now it's like a normal traditional layout.
Yeah, different case.
Worse or better?
The original. I feel like this one's missing like front IO.
It's right here.
Yeah, but it's so minimal that it still looks good.
So, also remember that since this assembly is symmetric, we can actually take the fan plate out so we can put our power button assembly where we want it, front or back. So right now it's in the bottom or the back because we went directly to placing the feet in the back without making that adjustment. Either way, it's up to the user.